how did the concept of the turtle come about, and the turtle home, and maybe the interior as well?
We knew in a conversation I was having. God, this was back when Chris Sutton was here. I had a conversation with him about like we need to do something interesting. Like it's cool to have the interior of her house. We got to do something that's unique, right? That makes it feel like this is a unique house. And I think he said okay, and he grabbed a bunch of people to go in a room, and you guys brainstormed for a while. And when he came out, I think he was thinking about like, oh, okay, well, there's this crazy idea. Then there's a bunch of other ideas. And he's like, I feel pretty good about these ideas. And there was probably a list of like 5 of them. And he was sort of continuing to avoid the conversation of the crazy idea because I think he was even saying, I don't know how the fuck we would do it. And I don't think we have the time. And that was around the time when we were constantly talking about scope, which I think was from year 1 to year 4, that we just nonstop every day was scope, 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 scope. But then he mentioned, what if she lived inside a turtle, or at least underneath a turtle? What if there's this big creature, right? And I was like, I love this. He's like, damn it. Because he realized, I think, how hard it was going to be. And everybody, he said, everybody in the room resonated with that idea. Everybody loved that idea. I think everybody recognized it would be really hard to do. But I think that didn't seem to matter because the sort of end result, it's like Brock and Sindri's fucking gratitude, right? That was legitimately not part of anything. Fucking gratitude was not part of the story or anything they did. It was just somebody drew a beast of burden carrying some stuff for Sindri, I think, in one of the concepts for him. And then I was like, oh, we should totally do that. And we don't have time. And then it was just built. Like it was one producer saying, we don't have time, we can't do this. And then it just got built, right?
That's the thing.
Which I remember getting an earful from a producer. What the fuck is this? They just built it when we didn't have time for this.
On some of these things too, you can almost outthink yourself. Like this is going to be too hard. It's just like, let's put pen to paper, so to say, and just start doing it. And
I think,
solutions
honestly,
start coming.
to me, there's the impractical nature and there's the, yes, like maybe it's too hard, but it's like, it's not practical to have her house below a turtle, right? But it's awesome, right? And it's interesting and it's extremely indicative of the character themselves. I don't know. I like Sanctuary Grove as a whole. Everything in this level is just so beautifully achieved, right?
Well, I think this did a great example of showing that all the mythology isn't evil and against you as well. Like there's parts of it that are good. And
yeah, it's a nice thing to see, like the God of War game, which is, perhaps traditionally associated with Slayer, death metal, skulls, right? Just fire everywhere, right? To kind of throw a guy like that, like Kratos, with his history in this sort of very colorful world, right? And kind of be the very alien stranger in a strange land. This is like alien experience number 1. Alfheim is kind of like alien experience number 2, but this really is that kind of like, I was surprised at how comfortable it felt to have him in this environment. Because I really felt like it was going to be so
because
out of place.
You have the kid as well to be that contrast, right?
Yeah,
Seeing
so he
him
is kind of
interact
like
bridge.
with
that bridge.
I remember when like this was happening, we were so like the initial pitch for the game was really like, this is the road, but Viking, and there's no like, none of the characters are gonna have any metal, like it's gonna be super grounded. And for me, this was like the first moment when I think we started to fold that new, like the art direction pillars in of like the fantastic. And so this felt like taking the kid to Disneyland, and I was like, wait, there's not supposed to be any joy in this world,
Right.
And then finally, like I think once we started to like massage those art direction pillars and get this in, it was like, oh, this is exactly what Corey wants. This is like, we need these pockets of like happiness and sort of beauty, and
the world's not
now I'm
always
really
trying
behind
to
it.
kill
But
you.
at first I was like, wait, what is happening?
And we did it in steps too. It felt
Yeah.
like we were doing this. We're like a little bit more color, a
Yeah,
little bit
yeah.
more color. What if we tried this? What if we tried that? Like, it definitely was not like a single aha. It was like a period of time of everybody kind of saying, what if we tried this? What if we tried that? I think, I don't know. I think that is what sort of makes this moment kind of that standout. Is like, you look at playtest responses, this always seems to rank very high as people's kind of moments of amazing, right? But when the art wasn't in, when it was very crude art, when it was just the design, all we got was just hammered that Kratos is picking flowers. It was just like, really? Flowers? Kratos is picking flowers? This is ridiculous. How far he's fallen, right? Some dude was so pissed at us in the playtest. But then like 3 playtests later, when the lighting and the art finally came in, nobody is saying that, right? Nobody is berating the fact that he's picking flowers. They're more like, this was an amazing sort of revelation, right? And when it all kind of comes together, I don't know. Like to me, this is the sort of fantastic collaborative end result, right? Where it is like there is no one person responsible for this. This is literally every single person saying, "What if you tried this? What if you tried that?" It's even GameSpot is involved in this one because the name of the freaking turtle is when they named the kid incorrectly.
Oh yeah, that's right. Charlie.
So yeah.
But this did a great thing, I think, throughout the game of the combination of the characters and the environment working together. I think we created a world that you're interested in. We've got this main story, but to me, I can go off the main story, and I think it would be just as interesting to explore this world, which is trying to create an experience as well as just kind of the game itself.
In terms of character design, anything you guys want to call out that you guys are really proud of from the iterations here?
Vance,
Yep,
right? That
Vance.
did these Vance Kovacs. Man, his first drawings were like right in the pocket of what this character was supposed to be.
Yeah, he has a great ability to just get like strength and beauty at the same time, where you know sometimes it's really easy to go one way or the other.
Yeah.
And I think this character also kind of goes along with our initial idea that the costuming with all our characters felt like they were handmade. They weren't super ornate. But I think with this character too, we wanted that connection to nature, and I think Vance also really got that really well. Yeah, even his loose sketches, there's so much gesture and life in them.
Her characters are infuriating people who live in cold climates. She doesn't nobody wears enough clothes in the game apparently, except they're gods, you know, or they're like local. She's a witch, right? So she's able to make her feet not feel cold. There is a dude called the Iceman who ascended a mountain in his shorts with no shoes, right? So it is humanly possible for an average regular human to survive in these kind of conditions, right? But these are not regular humans. These are mythological figures. So I thought it was cool that her whole thing was, I don't wear shoes because I have control of the natural forces around me.
I think she was one of the more difficult characters to execute just because of being a female and with all the background that goes into females in this game. And also, like, first when we heard the Witch of the Woods, I don't know if you remember, but we had like actual like witch, like old woman. Created.
Yeah, that's
because
right.
the Revenants were originally called witches.
Witches,
And I was definitely like, I didn't really want a witch to be a negative thing because it's such a heralded sort of like high level position within the mythology. Is like understanding Sather magic is like a big thing. Like, you're really smart. She knows something that very few people know, right? And that even the gods covet something like that. So I think that's cool. Like, for me too, it was really important that she was the same height as Kratos, like to be able to look eye to eye with him. I think that's kind of cool.
So we're at the Draugrs, we're at the enemies of God of War. Could you chat about how many iterations the Draugrs went through? Anything you guys want to call out again here?
I feel like they went on for years.
There was a lot. Basically, we're kind of getting the equivalent of what the Skellies were in the old game. We knew this character would probably be one of our big like multiplicity characters that we see throughout. So exploring what that is. And Corey, again, I think like you were talking about, you didn't want to do the average witch for the previous character. Same thing with this. You kind of push us away from doing like the zombie kind of aspect. So the idea with these characters is their spirits are so fierce that they actually, after they die, they go back and find their body and kind of reanimate it. And in doing so, since it's kind of like an unnatural rebirth, it kind of shatters them. So their weapons and their faces and their features are all broken. But even going with that, I think, Corey, you had the thing that they're not zombies. They don't breathe. They're not living. It's almost the spirit that's kind of driving them.
Yeah. Eric Williams had that idea of saying like they don't have any breath, which in the end, as we started looking at it, it meant like we would say they didn't even talk, like they didn't vocalize at all. But then Niederquell was basically saying that's really hard if we have no sound cues whatsoever. And then everybody realized like, yeah, that's not a good idea. So we need that so that we can actually help you understand if they're near you or on the sides or something like that. So,
and then also what we do here is obviously since this is going to be a big enemy, we need to look at all the variations. So you can see some sketches here by Stephen Oakley on kind of how we propagate one character into like a cast. Another thing that's great about this studio is we're always really hunting for the strong idea. So along with the execution, we always need the strong idea to support it. It's not just if it looks real, if it's successful, it's if the idea works with that. And in doing so, it gets a little rare and rare these days, but we still will do sketching here if it serves getting an idea quickly. So that's one thing in the art book you'll see is the finished 2D paintings, the 3D, but also the sketches as well.
And that was the first character that first enemy that we actually got in the game and working. So he went through a lot of revisions and a lot of different. We ended up with some of that at the final game, but there was a lot of even playing with the soul idea of not even have like half of the body and half of it is just as, a soul and how we communicate that idea. There was a lot of playing with different types of executions, and we ended up with a lot of different enemies for the joggers. I think there are like more than 20 of them,
easy,
or different variations. And how we make that work in the game was really challenging as well.
And a nice thing we also do here is we have a lot of collaboration. So a lot of that, as we figured it out, was taking the feedback, but then working between 2D and 3D and making sure that what we designed actually really did hold up in the final game. So it's a lot of evaluation, but that collaboration helps.